Welcome to the spoiler section. We're talking Arrival. They loved it. I hated it. Here's why. All right. Let's start diving into the things that really. Let's first talk about the things we hinted at the last episode. That line from Jeremy Renner.
Oh,
my God.
Let's make a baby, right?
You want to make a baby?
You want to make a baby?
Good
what was
God.
that?
I've never seen such an on-the-nose punch to the face of the audience. Do you get it?
I
Like,
think-
No, it looks like there were two moments. There was that, and there was
That.
also near the end, after everything happens, and his saying the most corny
Oh my God.
lines ever.
It evolved into a Hallmark card at the end. It was
Well,
really.
that's why I think the audience, a lot of audience members started laughing, and I was just like, I get it, but come on.
I'm not gonna
get it.
lie. I couldn't hold it in on the "you
Oh,
want to have
man.
a baby" line. I was holding it in until then, and I couldn't. I just
mean,
laughed. So
yeah,
hard.
that's not the best line, but I don't think it's. I think that was actually in the future a good bit, so they would have developed their relationship a little bit more.
It doesn't matter. We already got that. The whole movie hammers it into you that she has a kid. It's Jeremy Renner. It's their kid. You do not need that line at all. So
I don't
including
know.
it,
I
didn't
don't
need the
know.
line,
I don't
though.
disagree.
As
You
corny
don't.
As it is. I mean, there were two
Oh,
I don't
really
hate
corny
it, but it's
lines.
just a little
He
odd.
said. I mean, yeah, he had two really corny lines, but I think it's kind of in line with the character in
I
a
think
way.
it's
He is
in
a
line with
goofball.
how much the director underestimates the audience. They got to put
Oh, I
a
don't
point on
think Denny.
everything.
I don't think Denny underestimates his
He
audience.
put a point on everything, even going so far as to make sure and say, if you knew everything about your life, would you still go through it? It's yeah, we already got it. That's the whole movie was leading up to that. I got it. And then there's 15 more minutes of oh yeah, do you get it though? Those flashbacks were flash forwards.
The thing about it is, right, okay, so I liked, and this is probably, I'm going to sound a little bit different than in the other section because there's actually some issues I had going into it.
Absolutely.
But, so, we were 90% done with the movie, and I was like, this was, I was like, this is going to be the first Denny movie that I don't like. Oh no. I'm like, there's no, because I was gonna call BS on it. Whenever it shows the book with the symbol, I'm like, this is gonna be an M. Night Shyamalan film. The twist is that she already wrote the book. What is this? What is this? I was so upset. I was like, I don't want to hate this movie.
Right.
At the time, it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes when I saw it.
Right.
I was mildly hyped.
Oh, yeah.
Mildly hyped.
Fair.
And I was like, there's no way that she had. How? Everything is in the past? What is this? And then when it clicked, I was like, oh, it's in the future, yo. What is this? And then I was just like, all those fears washed over me, but I can't get over that I felt that way. So I was very...
You were justified feeling that way, I feel. I think you were completely justified because of the scene with the Chinese minister. The movie tries to be your future is set, and even if you knew it all, you'll be okay somehow, right? But that call to the Chinese minister is her actively using her ability to see the entirety of time to change her present. Without knowing she can do that, she never would have stolen that phone. She never would have been able to call him. She never would have been able to whisper the phrase. So it's not determinist. It's completely, she has a superpower that can change the future. But the movie doesn't realize that, I feel like. The movie's still going for the message of you're fated to do these things. And in the death of one of the aliens, even it's very noble that even though he knew he was gonna die, he's going all the way here. But also, why didn't he just go don't put that bomb there? If he knew, in the same way that she called the Chinese prime minister to prevent a disaster. So that's what made me so mad. And I think your initial reaction was touching on that a bit.
Yeah. It was a little bit like that. When I first saw it, I didn't like the way it was going, but then it redeemed it. And I'm not so sure that they can't change things, but I'm gonna let you go see it.
I was gonna say, how do you know? I mean, they didn't indicate at any point that she has control over that, because it could very much be random for not just her but the aliens as well. So maybe he didn't realize that, oh shit, there's a bomb until 5 seconds when the bomb explodes, you know?
But if you experience time all at once, you know that when you die, there's going to be an explosion with these humans. You'd think you would know you crawling up on it. That's only a little thing. The major one is that call to the Chinese general, because Without magical knowledge of the future, there's no reason for her to do any of that. That's not a fated interaction. Unless it is all fated, when it's just, that would make it a screenwriter's trick to do anything they want with no real justification, right? Because if everything's just fated, like, you could literally write, like, and then she pulls a gorilla out of the ground because she was supposed to. She was always meant to. And it's like, nah, man, I don't know.
My one thing I want to go back to is
yeah,
like
yeah.
whether or not you can change things and fate, which is really tricky. And it's one of the things, and we spoke a little bit about it before this,
Sure.
that I thought a little bit about. I don't know if it's so much that you can't change things or that if you do change things, you will have changed. It's weird. It's a little of a weird concept because she does call the Chinese Minister of Defense, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of tricky.
Because and again, it's a lot of things building up to that moment being very breaking for me. It's the guy whose only job is to hold on to that phone, leaving his phone in a room. It's her stealing it and knowing the number for the Chinese Prime Minister. You can't really be fated to do something you don't know about at all without looking into the future.
I think it's when she's starting, because, like, you know, in the film there's the, I forget, it's like the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or something like that.
Yeah, that if
where
you-
you think, if you like start thinking in a language for enough, you start like thinking in that language, and their language isn't bound by time or whatnot. So that's which is a stretch.
Such a stretch.
It's a really big stretch, but
like even if you buy it.
yeah, it's a stretch. But the thing about it is, I think it's also her kind of starting to realize that she can do that allows her to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of an odd thing, but
Like, it's hard not to side with Renner's character for leaving when she's like, oh yeah, no, I knew this whole thing was going to happen the whole time, and I just didn't tell you. It's
Well,
like, that's
I don't
rough,
think it's
man.
the
I
death
knew-
of her daughter.
Yeah,
or,
yeah. I knew it was going to ruin your relationship with your daughter and your entire life, but I was like, whatever. I made the choice for you. It's like, yeah, I'd be upset too. I could see that. Like, that's legit.
Yeah, that's super lame. Actually, that's
Yeah,
one thing
like-
that is really lame.
I mean,
That's tough.
The thing is, I mean, if she wants to be with him, and I mean, they're gonna have kids at some point anyway. Maybe it's just like the
She
kid's
have
gonna
to be able
die.
to change the future.
Well,
Yeah, man. Gene therapy? I don't know.
Yeah.
But she has to be able to because of that Chinese phone call.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's whether or not she should is, I think, her question to herself.
that's fine. But the movie tries to sell it like, you know, if it's like you have a fate, and like knowing that fate, you can still live your life. And I feel like it undercuts itself in a lot of places.
It
that
does a
way.
few times. I do agree there.
I also got really frustrated with some just like of the basic plot points, like the insurgents bombing the inside of the facility. That was the goofiest setup for two reasons. First, she's like, "What's your purpose here?" And they're like, "To give you a weapon." Hard cut to them back at the tent. Oh my gosh, they said a weapon. What do we do? Oh, I got a great, brilliant, genius idea. Let's go back there and ask them what they meant. And it's like, you're telling me that right off the bat you were like, whoa! iPad, what did you mean? Like, the idea that they went back and then had to go back before asking, like, for a little bit of clarity on that was silly. The fact that in that time frame where they left, an insurgent group of 15 trained soldiers committed high treason to bomb an alien vessel?
I also don't know how those soldiers were able to do that. That's one of my big things is that.
At all. And I also don't know, like...
Well, I mean, those soldiers. I mean, one of them was the guy that always went up there with them.
Yeah.
So, like two of those people were like two.
But he believes talk radio more than he believes. It's a pretty scene.
I mean,
Which
they
is-
did
yeah.
a pretty poor job with his character. Because I mean, the little interaction that we saw with him was one, he's listening to the talk radio, that terrible show.
How did they let the
And-
soldiers go out to the spaceship?
You're
They
telling me
never would have let
they-
the soldiers go out
They
to
would
that
have let,
spaceship.
but like they would absolutely be in a media blackout too. Oh, and that phone call with his wife.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the only performance in the movie I have major problems with is that
It
one
was-
guy, because that phone call did not lead me to believe he was going to be like a crazy.
No.
He was he looked bored and honestly a little annoyed with his wife. Like,
Yeah. I thought
gonna be
he'd be a
fine.
decent guy that like wants change as well, because they did a pretty poor job with his character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many hangups. I'm still just. As I was watching, I'm still just. No way does they have a spaceship and then have like a crew crew of guys go out to that
Well,
spaceship
I
unlisted.
think that crew of guys are the crew that
But
the
why?
only crew that goes there.
But
so
why
I mean,
weren't the scientists with them? If it wasn't a scheduled,
Well, the thing is,
They
I think,
went
I think
early.
it's a
Nobody
case,
was
well, here's the
watching
thing.
them?
that's the
Here's
thing.
the thing. I think it's a case where the scientists go to the crew takes them to the spaceship.
Right.
So if this is a crew of people that are
Just
the
hanging
only
out
people that go to the spaceship, take people to the spaceship, then I don't think anyone's gonna have an issue with like, oh, they're going off to the spaceship. They must have something to do. You
I
know?
just feel like
The
it's
bi-
like there's got to be a check, an ID check when they're
Well,
heading out.
Well, the thing is,
Even
I
if
mean,
they're cleared,
if-
right? The biggest problem is you're telling me there's not cameras on this
Yeah,
like
always.
ship at all times, and
100%.
versus they leave the bomb in a room that is 100% monitored, and everyone's like, they're not answering their comms. Why is that?
Well,
And
like,
I
you
mean,
can watch
the
them.
thing is, I mean,
Yeah.
if they're the ones that set it up, if they're the ones that check the IDs of people going to the spaceship,
Mhm.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit
back
easier to.
at home base, they got to be watching this. Like, what are they doing with the scissor lift? Is that a bomb? Like, which they totally could have done. They totally could have been like, that's a bomb. Like, added a lot of tension there. But instead, I felt like it played out in the way to like neutralize as much drama as possible. And then it ended up not mattering to the overall plot of the film.
I mean, Abbott died.
Abbott
Rest
died,
in
but like,
peace.
does that really affect the plot too much?
Well, I mean, that's when they had to do that information dump.
Why
and
didn't they just do that?
I thought about that too. I don't know why.
Why did they understand English at the end? And if they experienced time at all at once, why didn't they just know English?
They would have.
Yeah,
They would have always known English.
yeah.
well, I think the whole point, I mean, for them, it was getting the humans to learn this language.
But then again, I think
But
it.
why not show up and be like, hey, so we're
But-
gonna teach you some things.
But then again, I think.
I know that would have made a
I
shitty
mean-
movie, but like,
I mean, and that's
How do they not know English?
well,
I understand why she may not be able to understand their language,
Sure.
even though she will know it in the future. It's
Mhm.
because she has to think about it before it
and
affects
she
her.
experiences time linearly, which is fine.
Yeah, and then she has to learn it for it to work all the way around. But they have always been able to work that way around. So I feel like maybe they only can learn from that one instance, so they already can't.
that's the thing. Because I mean, well, if you think about the Chinese minister, if she doesn't make the call, that future technically doesn't happen
At all.
So
True.
that point has to happen. There has
Mhm.
to be that point where they learn.
But again,
So I mean, I guess it's an event that has to happen because they're not going to learn English if nobody teaches them English, right?
right, but
That's the thing.
oh my god, the Chinese taught them mahjong. Really? Really? They were like, how do we approach this? How would I teach my kid language? I got it, mahjong. Also, how did
Well,
that
then
conversation work?
Um,
I just
I dug that part. I dug that part. Because they were teaching him, and then it tackles like heavier aspects of like
but it doesn't.
communication and language without actually clarifying too much. It's like, no, that's not a good idea. Here's the quick example why. You're like, oh,
But
I didn't even think of that. That's why you wouldn't teach them like chess or something.
They do it in such a clumsy way as to like making your point, but like manufacturing a way to make your point. Like it feels so that manufacturing has to be done very carefully. But this, it felt very, very clunky and clumsy. Like I don't.
I didn't
I
see
find
it
it
too clunky.
really hard. Well, and like when when China goes, we're not talking to anyone anymore, and they go offline, and then every country goes offline. I'm like, really? We don't even trust our closest allies anymore. We're not even talking to Japan anymore. Like, why? And it didn't matter either. If all these countries had still been like talking to each other, but they were like, we need everything. We still need to get China on board. Same plot, but like they just kind of go about it this sort of silly way that for me was like very like it pulled me out of it, and it made it harder for them to make their points.
I didn't. I was on board with it. I mean, once
Yeah.
the
I mean,
CIA guy shut the U.S.'s feed down,
Yeah.
I was like,
'Cause,
actually,
if
that's
the
a pretty big deal.
Yeah, if the big three or the big four or whatever big nations, like if the U.S., Russia, and China drop off, then everybody else knows, okay, something's going down, and everybody either cuts off. Or I mean, if we cut off feed from everyone else, then we're not going to see anybody else.
The one thing I didn't like is that I feel like we would still monitor feeds. We just wouldn't put them out. So I was like, when we were like calling, I think at the end or near the end, we were trying to reach out to other nations. I was like, they probably would still be receiving signals, just not responding.
I love the Russian who makes a phone call instead of sending an email.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like this was much more obvious and more exciting in a movie, so you can hear me get, oh, I'm shot. Like,
I don't know, man. I think the Russians may have heard a little scandal involving emails.
Yeah, no emails, no emails.
And it's never really clear what the other nations like were given. Like if they were like, oh God, we're gonna get a weapon, and they're like, here's a picture of a bunch of circles. Even if like, why weren't they just like, oh, did you guys get a bunch of circles? We just got a bunch of circles. Like, talk about a diffused situation, like really quickly. Did anyone else get anything?
Just language.
They never even talk about if anyone else got the language even.
I think that, well, understood, I don't think so, because she becomes the expert on it.
Right.
So I don't think anybody fully understood it, but like, I believe it was Pakistan in the film were very on the edge of deciphering it, that it was not, that it was like circular or something like that.
Well.
So I think they understood that, but I don't think they fully comprehended it.
So, did each one of the nations get a separate piece of information that all has to be put together, or not? If not, why so many ships?
No, it was. Because,
It was? Okay.
I remember a specific scene where it's like they discover, oh yeah, the alien said they are, this is like one of many, because, you know, he does the whole math equation, and they realize, oh yeah, this is like one of 12, so we need to like put all the 12 pieces together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, a cool little thing that I saw, the ships don't communicate with each other because they don't need to, because
They
at any
all
point
already
in
know.
time,
Yeah.
they'll already know. I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of cool. They didn't
Eh.
even talk about that.
That's neat. I like that.
There's lots of little cool things in the film that I found that they just don't address. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, gotta like think about that a little bit more.
I liked the ship designs.
That was the sound design. Can we
The
talk
sound
about
design
sound design
was
is
incredible
so good.
in that movie.
So good.
Even as somebody who came out of it just furious, I got no shade for that sound design. It was so
Really
good.
good.
Like, I would love to see if they did like, because you know, in like Game of Thrones, like they make up languages and stuff. Would love to see if there was an actual alien language
It's
here.
just like a really big like horn.
Yeah, because I don't know. Evidently they can breathe the mist, but they don't because they need to.
Talking about the
do the
mist, the one thing I really thought looked bad was her hair.
Yes!
That
Oh
looked
my
really
god!
bad.
I laughed. I
That took me out of the
silently
movie.
chuckled to
I
myself.
wanted to see. The thing is, I do like the film. I think it's a
Yeah.
solid film, but there's so many parts of it that chipped away at me. After sitting on it a little bit, there's so many parts that chipped away and make me not like take away from it. Like, you know, like the hair. Oh my goodness! Come on,
That was
guys.
some bad
They could have
CG
spent
hair.
like 3 more weeks on that hair and gotten it.
Oh yeah.
Budgets are tight. I know budgets are tight.
Yeah.
But come on, that hair was bad. Just not good. Really took me out of the film. A few lines of dialogue really took me out of the film. And they take away from the overall experience.
Yeah, and I don't know. For me, the ending was a big one. Like the ending really solidified. Like I'm not into this movie. I love the idea of using cinematic language to talk about memory by showing flash forwards as flashbacks. That's all very neat. It's a very cool idea, but it wasn't satisfying storytelling wise for me.
The thing is I thought I liked the ending, but I was so upset because I thought the ending was going to be something else that when they actually showed me the ending, which I do like, it's just that I was just already so taken out and upset that I
Right.
can't appreciate it like I would have.
See, I thought the ending was so generic. Like, yeah, they both go and they have a kid, and you already know the kid thing, so, like, all we really have to offer is that these things that you think, that's what it is. And it's like, oh, all right, well. And it goes on for so long. That montage at the end where it's just cutting to her past, and then her in the present, and her in the past, and in the future, and I'm just like, I get it, they have a kid. And it's like, no. Let's make sure Jeremy Renner lets you know that they have a kid. Oh, did they get married? Oh, hold on. Let's make sure that somebody says a line of dialogue.
There
It's like,
was one. What was the no sum? What was the line?
Oh yeah.
I liked that a lot. I thought that was pretty good.
No sum game.
No sun gain.
Some-
No sum gain.
Yeah.
Where they cut back. I was like, oh, that's good. I didn't think
thought-
it was the future though. I was like, oh, that's totally the past.
Yeah.
But it was starting to ink, like little inklings of it was working. I was like, ooh, that's good. And the whole when you see a little clay sculpture of the aliens, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So those parts now I'm back on board liking it.
Man,
so there's enough good
no.
stuff there
I
overall
know.
to outweigh it, but
If people liked it, like I
Oh,
want,
totally.
I'm not saying like people are wrong for
Right.
liking it.
let's be real, you are in the minority. Though,
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, statistically, look at
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes,
Yeah.
definitely in the minority.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I still feel good in my disappointment.
Yeah, I wish it was.
I feel really bad for Amy Adams in this movie because of the trick with the editing and the way that things go. She has to pretty much act the same in every scene
Mm-hmm.
because she can't. If she reacts too genuinely to things, you will be able to tell where she is in time. That's why the best scene that she acts in is the one in the very beginning with the kid, because she's allowed to just play that scene straight. After that, everything is mild astonishment. Every scene is just sort of, oh yeah. Like, I got really tired of that. Like, for me, it was a little bit like Winona Ryder in Stranger Things, where like I liked it at first, and then it just keeps getting hammered on for so
that's
long
One of the, that's
that
one
I
of the
sort
things
of
about
like,
Stranger Things that was dug in me was Winona Ryder in that.
yeah. Which I like Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, I dig Stranger Things,
but like this,
she just keeps doing the same thing.
Yeah, and
I'm
I feel
I'm a little
like
done with that.
And I don't think it was Amy Adams' fault. Like, I think
No.
I like Amy Adams as an actress. I just felt like
I didn't even mind. I guess it sounds like it was monotonous or whatnot, but
Yeah.
I didn't even mind that. I dug it. So
I just it felt more gimmicky to me than I would have liked. I don't I don't know. Maybe it was just because the story was so very like heart-wrenching and Hallmark cardy at the end, where it's like no matter what like happens in your life, like you can do it. you can do it. And I was like, all right, Lifetime, calm down. Like, but I don't know. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up before we wrap it up here?
CGI hair looked bad. Sound design was good.
Oh, one thing you mentioned how you hated the pacing.
Yes. Yeah, and I've had a lot of people disagree with me on that as well. But what did you think of the pacing?
Actually, he has something to say.
Well, I was gonna say there was a part where I thought the movie was going to end, but then it had like 30 more minutes, and it's right when the ship like takes off or whatever. I was like, oh, the movie's done. I mean, the humans messed up. And then it's like 30 more minutes. I was like, oh, I didn't see this coming. So I will say there was a pacing thing there, but overall I dug it. I was on the edge of my
There
seat,
were-
honestly.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, there were moments where I felt like it was a little choppy. Is
Mm.
choppy the right word?
Absolutely.
A little choppy, but
When they-
then after a while, I realized, oh shoot, okay, this kind of goes to the whole theme of different spots in time.
Yeah.
And that just added to the feel of the film. So when that moment hits you and you realize, oh damn, okay. It just, I don't know, it just feels like the movie went, like, I had a moment like that as well with Zach, where the movie went from another disappointment to, oh, actually, this is pretty good,
That's me with this whole movie. I'm like, oh, I'm disappointed. Oh, wait, no, I'm not.
See, for me, the movie has really poor flow to it, which I think, like you said, it feels choppy, which I completely agree. At one point, they literally have to stop the whole movie so Jeremy Renner can have a voiceover that recaps what happened, because it was so poorly executed that, like,
Didn't
the
like that
filmmakers
part.
had to be like, okay, so Jeremy Renner's here, he's going to explain everything documentary style that just happened. And he's not explaining it to anyone. It's not like an announcement to the world.
Why didn't
It's
he explain it?
literally
Why didn't
just
she explain it? She's not voiceover in the movie. That's one thing I didn't like.
It made no
Yeah.
sense.
Like,
It
why
was-
did he explain? Why
it
did
was
he
literally,
explain that?
the movie was so broken at that point, they had to toss someone in and be like, all right, fix it real quick. Like, which to me is like a
Wasn't it
major
just like a week
flow
of
problem.
time? They just needed to jump ahead like a week.
Yeah, well, and like they needed to make sure that all these things were very clear that were sort of only hinted at.
They could have added like another 10, 15 to the movie
I mean-
and just not done a jump ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
But
so
yeah,
many.
that's, I mean, with that as well, something that did pretty poorly, I think, was just the passage of time and just.
Mhm.
It
Well,
didn't
it's only a
feel-
few. It's only like a movie takes place only like a week.
Really?
There's
No,
so
I
many
thought
scenes.
it was in like a few months.
Yeah, I think
Was
it's like
it?
a month
Yeah.
at least.
Well, then I guess that adds to your point.
But like the fact that you're arguing, there you go. Like, there were so many scenes of people walking to places that I got really annoyed, and this is like, there's so many scenes of just walking through a hallway, walking through it, and even after we've established the base, there's still a lot of scenes that don't begin until somebody walks into a room, and like for me, that's part of what causes like the pacing issue for me. It's just so slow, and then the fact that like they missed on so much information to have the like so many scenes where not a lot happens. That's just like a storytelling issue for me. That's like that's just it feels clunky and a little bit sloppy. I mean, you could definitely make the argument that it's meant to be choppy, but I don't think it's artistically choppy enough for me. All right, we are going way over time.
A little bit.
But I've been enjoying the hell out of this discussion. Let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up. We'll do another recommend, don't recommend, and then we'll wrap it up. So
I'm gonna say I recommend this film. After sitting on it for a little bit, you know, whether or not you want to spend money on it, that's up to you. If you have the money, go out and watch it. You know, that's it's an experience. It's not Interstellar.
That's a good comparison, actually. I was literally about to make that comparison.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in, but I was like, I liked Interstellar better, but this was still, I was just about to make that. That's the only way I jumped in there.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, still a solid film. Recommend it.
So recommend from Tathazwa. How about you, Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what Tathazwa said. I do recommend it. I think it's a solid film. There's a lot of good stuff in it. There's a few things that I was hung up on that I didn't like the execution of, but overall, I liked it. If you're into sci-fi stuff, I'd say go watch it. Go spend your money.
All right.
See in theaters, that sound. You want that those speakers, that sound. Seriously, you're gonna want to hear it.
Right. So for me, as I said earlier, I really don't enjoy this film. For me, a great sci-fi is sci-fi that takes a... Hello, TJ here. So you may have noticed that we're having some audio issues during this episode, and right here, we lost the audio entirely. Basically, all I was saying while the audio cut out was that, for me, a great sci-fi movie should have sci-fi elements that always add to the narrative or message. For instance, the movie Her takes the idea of artificial intelligence and uses it to talk about relationships and outgrowing someone. For me, Arrival missed that mark in that its sci-fi elements actively impede its message and theme. The idea of perceiving all of time at once only adds questions and muddles up the film's intent. From that, after that, I pretty much just talk about how the ending really frustrated me in its pacing and really hammering in a lot of things that the audience already knew. Anyway, that's all you might have missed, so back to the parts where we have audio. For me, it's definitely not a recommend. Like, it's an active, don't see this movie.
It's for the CGI hair, right?
Oh, yeah, that was it. Everything else was fine, but as soon as I saw that hair, I was like, no, this movie's over.
Seriously. That CGI hair.
That hair is really atrocious.
It's like a 2003 video game. Seriously.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
PS Final Fantasy X cutscene. Seriously, go.
It is.
But the movie's good. But that hair, though, yo.
It's not. Neither is the hair. All right, so that's it for Stubtown this week. Just a reminder, you can be on the show or help make the show if you join PSU TV. We're in the sub-basement of the Smith Memorial Student Union. Come down and see us anytime. Generally, there's a director there between noon and 6 on weekdays. Come down, say hi, check it out. It's real easy. It's a good time. That's all we've got for this week. I'm TJ Hunt. Say I'm Zach Huckabee.
I'm Zach Huckabee.
Tathazwa.
I'll see you next week.
Play the outro.